Hey you guys, welcome back to Dropping Some Knowledge. My name is Andrew, and today we're going to talk about the anatomy of a grape. Do it, anatomy of a grape. Alright you guys, so today we're going to go in depth on grape anatomy. The grape anatomy is really important to any wine production. Wine has been produced for thousands of years, and it's all because of this tiny little grape. It's really good for any wine drinker to understand why the grape is so important, because it's the main reason you're drinking wine is because of the grape. Alright, so the first thing we're going to talk about is the skin. So you have two phenolic compounds that are located inside of the grape skin. You have anthocyanin, say that again, anthocyanin, and then you also have tannin. Anthocyanin is going to be the phenolic compound that gives red wine its color. Without the chemical, or the phenolic compound, anthocyanin, red wine will not get its color. The second phenolic compound is going to be tannin. Tannin is going to be found in the seeds, the skin, and the stem if you're going to use the stem. Some winemakers do use the stems when fermenting to add more tannin, more structure. You don't really want a white wine to have tannin. Tannin is going to have an astringent, bitter taste to it, but also with time, it's going to help with the mouthfeel of the wine. You might hear that wine is phenolically ripe. It just means that all the phenolics, or the phenolic compounds inside of the grape, are perfectly ripe, so it's going to be more enjoyable for you when you actually enjoy the wine. It's going to be more balanced. So the next part of the grape is going to be the pulp. The pulp is where the bulk of all the juice is going to come from. Inside of that juice, you have a couple of things that are inside of there that are going to make the wine different than every other wine that you have from that grape. You have sugar, potassium, water, and acids. The acids, there's multiple acids, but the two that we're going to kind of focus on are malic acid and tartaric acid. After those acids, we're also going to go on to sugars, and then there's just natural water inside of every juice, which is good because when you're drinking wine, you're drinking mostly water, which is a great thing for everyone because everyone needs more water in their diet. The cool thing about pulp is if you want to make a red wine or a red grape and you want to make white wine out of it, you just don't use the skin. The skin is where the anthocyanin is. If you don't use the anthocyanin, if you don't have any skin contact when you're making the wine, then that red grape is going to have a white juice. You're not using any of the skin. So you can make white wine from red grapes, you can make white wine from white grapes. It does not matter. Delicious. So going into the chemicals inside of the actual pulp, the first chemical you have inside of the pulp is sugar. There are multiple sugars inside of every grape, but the two we're going to focus on are the two basic ones. We have fructose and we have glucose. Fructose is going to be the sweetest of the two, and then you have glucose. Glucose is slightly less sweet than fructose. Fructose and glucose, they're known as simple carbohydrates. A simple carbohydrate is going to be a monosaccharide. There's monosaccharides and there's disaccharides. Fructose and glucose are known as monosaccharides. So monosaccharides are single sugar molecules. When fructose and glucose link together, they make sucrose. Sucrose is known as a disaccharide. It's just a linking of two monosaccharides. Glucose is what your body's blood sugar is measured by. Your body processes most carbohydrates that you eat into glucose for either immediate use or storage into your muscle cells or your liver. Fructose is the second sugar. Fructose is going to be metabolized only inside of the liver. Fructose behaves more like fat than other like carbohydrates. So the sugar inside of the grape is where your alcohol is coming from. What happens is yeast that's naturally in the air, on the actual grape skin, what happens is when you crush the grape, the sugar will be consumed by the yeast, producing alcohol and carbon dioxide. Just some of these sugars can't be converted into alcohol, so a lot of these red wines will have a touch of sweetness. So even though they say they're fermented to dryness, there will be a little bit of sugar left inside of that wine. Better for you because those go better with some different types of foods. After the sugars, you move into the acids. There's multiple acids inside of every grape, but the two we're going to talk about today are tartaric and malic. Tartaric acid is going to be the most predominant inside of a grape, And that is what you're going to measure the acidity inside of a wine through tartaric acid. Tartaric acid, sometimes you'll see crystals inside of your white wine, and there might be on the very bottom of the wine, they might be attached to the cork. Those are tartaric crystals. What that is the tartaric acid, after cooling down the wine, after fermentation, the acids will actually crystallize and link together and form these little wine crystals. It's not a bad thing at all. I actually really enjoy chewing on them, to be completely honest. I have issues though, but tartaric acid will precipitate out of a wine if the wine is cooled down too quickly after fermentation. Next, you go into malic acid. Malic acid can be a fault. So a lot of times, winemakers will actually change malic acid into lactic acid through the process of malolactic fermentation. Lactic acid is the acid that's found inside of milk. Malic acid is the acid that's found inside of green apples. So what you do is you convert through a bacteria malic acid and changing it into lactic acid, which is the softer acid. So not only does it make it a little creamier, but it makes it a little softer and easier to drink. It's not so sharp and jagged and tart. My friend, you say hi. So the last part of the grape that we're going to talk about are the seeds. Seeds are a large, concentrated area that tannin is kept. Winemakers, when making wine, if they don't want that extra tannin, they will be careful when pressing the actual grape to not crush the seeds. If you crush the seeds, that is going to give unwanted tannin to the ending wine, giving more of that astringent, bitter quality that a lot of winemakers will choose not to incorporate into their wines. So next time you go to the store, you grab that bag of grapes, always remember how important every single little thing is in that grape for all the fermented grape juice that you consume on a nightly basis. Please comment in the comments below. Ask me any questions you would like. I'll try to get back to you as soon as I can and give you as much information as I know. Thank you guys so much for joining me on Dropping Some Knowledge. Please like, subscribe, share, follow me for more Wine Made Easy videos.